So we just discussed the other day, Don Lemon is officially out at CNN. He is very, very highly paid and gets very, very poor ratings. Not the best mix, if I don't say so myself. That's not going to get you too far in media. He should thank his lucky stars he lasted as long as he did, because he's been a liability for quite a while, to say the least. Okay, well now, we have a new show coming to CNN. Not going to lie to you guys, I think it's a phenomenal decision. So CNN CEO Chris Licht officially announced his new show featuring Gayle King and Charles Barkley, titled King Charles. It will air weekly in primetime beginning this fall and running into 2024. Okay, so I was under the impression CNN just simply didn't have enough money to throw at Charles Barkley to make it worth his while to get involved in politics. Because Charles Barkley, he does NBA on TNT, in my opinion, is one of the best shows on TV. When you get Charles Barkley, Shaq, Kenny, and EJ going at it with each other, just like shooting the shit on air, it is the most entertaining thing on TV, and I think it is by far. So I figured, look, he's already getting paid $1 gazillion to do that. Why would he add this other thing to his list? And also, I've seen it from time to time. He'll say something and there'll be backlash, and he'll hear about the backlash, and then he responds on air. And I'm thinking, if he's listening to backlash, then there's no way he should do a political show, because the second he starts engaging with critics, it's just going to be a never-ending feedback loop of losing your damn mind online and losing your damn mind at your critics, right? And so all these things make me think he's probably going to keep a little bit of distance between himself and news and politics, but apparently not. Apparently they were able to match whatever dollar figure he was asking for, which, by the way, if that number comes out, I'm sure it would be preposterous. I'm sure everybody would be like, holy cow, they're paying you what? So, look, this is one of the best moves I think CNN has made, to be honest. So, here's what they say. To my CNN colleagues, this was an internal email. I am thrilled to share that CNN will be home to a new show featuring the extraordinary duo of Gayle King and Charles Barkley, aptly titled King Charles, which will air weekly in primetime beginning this fall and running into 2024. This show will be an exciting new way we are delivering culturally relevant programming and unique perspectives to our audience from two incredibly dynamic personalities. We are excited that they are both able to join us in addition to their current respective roles, with Gayle continuing to anchor CBS Mornings. King Charles exemplifies the one team, one company mentality, with Charles playing double duty at CNN and his role at WBD Sports. There will be more to come on this in the months ahead, but in the meantime, please join me in welcoming Gayle and Charles to CNN. So, look, here's my advice on this one. Not that anybody's asking, but you need to keep that exact same vibe as NBA on TNT. You need to keep it just like the same dynamic is there. It can't be too uptight. It can't be too scripted. It has to be loose. It has to be shooting from the hip. It has to be just reacting in real time. It's almost like Charles Barkley should be doing what I do on this show, and then he just comments on whatever's in the news and just gives his take. And Gayle King is there to play the straight news person to his I'm going to be the opinionated guy and just say whatever I think. And look, not going to lie, there's going to come times where Charles Barkley has a take where we'll cover it on this show and be like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That is horrendously stupid. But then there's also going to be times where he says stuff that's true that nobody else is saying. Where it's oh, thank God somebody in mainstream media made that point. Because we've seen both, right? I've seen both from Charles Barkley. I've heard him say things where I'm that is so based and nobody says it. And then I've also heard him say things where I want to facepalm. He defended that Saudi golf tour, the Live golf tour. And it's they should go get their money. It's really? They're taking money from a modern day Nazi regime doing a genocide in Yemen. Really? Are you really going to play this is just sports card? This is dumb. But that's my point is, I'm excited that there's somebody on CNN now who might actually say an interesting thing from time to time. Because the biggest problem with CNN for the longest time has been nobody's interesting. Nobody's interesting, nobody's edgy, nobody's controversial, nobody actually comes across as authentic and a straight shooter, whether you agree or disagree with them. It's all overly pampered little pricks who are, keep it real, politically correct, and who are just going with the narrative of the day, the we are neutral narrative, or just the rah-rah corporate Democrats narrative. It's insufferable. So getting rid of Don Lemon and bringing in Charles Barkley is a phenomenal idea. Now, whether or not this will succeed is a different question, because, there was a time, I think it was MSNBC hired Jesse Ventura during the early time in the Iraq War, but when they learned he was against the war, then they axed him and didn't let him on air, right? And paid him for his full contract. And I've seen shows with Jesse Ventura since then, and Jesse Ventura is amazing when you get him in an interview and you let him riff and you let him go. But when you give him his own show, it's a little bit of a different dynamic and a little bit of a different format. And he's not as compelling there as he is when he's in an interview or something and he can just sort of go. And so that's the only fear I have for this is the format needs to suit Charles Barkley. It needs to be similar to NBA on TNT. And if it's not similar to that, then you could run into some trouble. And the other thing is, you fear, I hope he doesn't get it in his head that he has to be somehow different than what he is when he's doing NBA on TNT. That, in fact, he should embrace being exactly like that. You don't need to do a fake professionalism thing. You don't need to, like, listen to what the narrative is and then repeat it. I don't think you have to worry about that so much with Charles Barkley. You know, him sort of just copying whatever the narrative of the day is. But I do think you have to worry about the format fitting him. And you just have to try to get him as unchained as possible. And so hopefully the show will facilitate that. But look, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'll definitely watch this. And it'll be the first time, maybe ever, that I'm like, oh, I'll tune into CNN. Usually that's the last thing I would ever want to watch ever. But look, I find the guy interesting. I find him hilarious in the same way that I find, I find the other guys hilarious and interesting. And I think their dynamic is amazing. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.